Hey, welcome back to Travels with Carl, man. Sitting in the sunlight. It's freaking bright out here, but it feels so good. Guess what? We're still in Massachusetts, but we're leaving Waltham and we're moving into the big city. Moving into, oh shoot, just kicked my new tripod. I don't know if I told you this or not. I'm pretty sure I did. I had tried twice to get a gimbal, and I got the 7 and then the 7P DJI gimbals. I could not get it to work, man. I could not get the, once I charged it up, I couldn't get the Bluetooth to work or anything. I couldn't get it to turn on when I opened it up, so I just bought a straight up tripod, man. I fucking love it. God, it was so easy. I didn't do this to begin with. But yeah, I think we're on episode 27 now, so we passed the halfway mark. Is that right? Yeah. And so I was telling you about, I was out there trying to train this knucklehead how to deal with hotel security. Which, not that it really hardly even mattered, because there was just nothing going on there. Sure, you got the fire, life, safety, all that stuff going on as normal. But anyway, so I finally got Mark Beaudry to agree to transfer me into town to work at the big one, the Westin Copley place. Now, at the time, the Westin, the Marriott, and one other hotel, and I thought it was the Sheraton, but now I don't think it was. Anyway, they were connected to this 2-story shopping center called Copley Place. And what was really cool about it is in the wintertime, well, anytime, but it was especially designed for the wintertime, there were these tunnels or tubes, not on the ground or not underground, but like one floor above the ground. So you're walking above traffic. But they were heated tubes with glass windows on both sides. So you could walk from your hotel lobby into Copley Place shopping mall, even if it was snowing or howling cold. And you didn't even have to wear a jacket. You could just blaze right into the shopping mall. I'm not really a big fan of malls, right? I never have been. But I have to admit, that was a cool one because of the hotels. So, like I said, I think there were 3 different hotels that were connected. I can't remember now what the other one was. But since that time, and this will be have even more meaning to it as we go on. But to today, the Marriott owns Sheraton, Westin, of course, all of the Marriotts, but they also purchased or acquired the Ritz-Carlton. So they're like it's just a gigantic monopoly of hotel. And it's Marriott Bonvoy or something like that is what they go under now. But okay, I owe you another painting, but this is the photo that I'm going to be working from. There it is. That is the Westin Copley Place Hotel. And as you can see, it's a good-sized tower, kind of an unusual shape to it. Almost like a pizza slice, almost triangular, only without a pointy end on it. And I forget how many, 20 some stories. I can look it up for you if you're curious. I don't remember. I believe it was under 30. I think it was around 20 some stories. Huge conference area, huge ballroom, underground parking. This is the only hotel that I ever worked for where you had to valet park your car. because regular hotel employees weren't able to go down into the garage because they didn't want us screwing up other people's cars. But you couldn't, so you couldn't self-park there, but you could valet park there. And so that was a no-brainer. It's like you just hit the valets with a couple bucks, and I mean, we're out. There's no other hotel I've ever worked at where you could have your car valet parked. Anyway, you get the picture. No pun intended. So there I am. I'm working for Mark Beaudry, and letting him know how much it sucked working out in Waltham, and what a letdown or a disappointment that was. But now I'm in the city and I'm fighting real crime. And like I said, when you have a hotel you've got a bunch of different ways in and out of the hotel, guarantee you're going to have more crime. That's just a given, especially if it's connected to a shopping center, because theft is one of the big ways that people supply their drug habits and even make a living, just straight up stealing for a living. So when you connect that to a hotel, guarantee you're going to be writing some reports. I think one of the worst things that happened there, as far as like dangerous shit, there was this one guy, and I forget how we flushed him out of the hotel room, but he had checked in under a bogus account. They probably didn't run the cards and stuff when he checked in, and realized after they had checked him in, he had no money or something like that. But anyway, we get sent up to the room, and I went up there with one other person, as I recall, to bring this dude downstairs. And he was going through the mini bar when we got there and getting high, and not really anything crazy, just like a normal dirtbag. He was just in there getting high and going through the mini bar. And so we said we had a problem. We had to escort him back downstairs because his credit card wasn't working or something like that. I forget what the excuse was that we used, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't an excuse. I think that's really what happened. But we got him downstairs, and instead of taking him to the front desk, we just take him right to the security office, which is in the basement. Now, there's an employee entrance there, because you usually have that security office at the employee entrance, so you can randomly check people's bags as they go in and out and stuff. So we got him in the office. All of a sudden, he runs for the door, right? Well, instead of going through two doors and out onto the sidewalk, this knucklehead makes a right and runs up a flight of stairs, which he doesn't realize this, but that was like a big exit for a ballroom or something like that. So when he turned the corner up that flight of stairs, we got to the top, there's two steel doors that are, they're like not two steel doors, but like a row of like 6 steel doors that were all locked. And so he's trapped there, right? He can't go any further up. He's not wanting to come down because we're just going to arrest him. So one of the other guys that I worked with, who was a supervisor there, instead of just all of us going up there, he runs up there like, he's going to save the day. And this dude just mops him, just grabs him and starts throwing him around. And he gets thrown down the stairs. And I think he broke his ankle, as I recall, on that fall. So the rest of us bum rush this guy, drag him down to the landing, and there's like 3.5 of us now, because this one dude is broken, so he just counts as a half a person. So the other 3 of us are trying to hold this dude down and get him in handcuffs. Well, he just has like the strength of 10 men, and he is just fucking not wanting to get handcuffed. Of course, once we get him in the handcuffs and get him down to the office, we call Boston Police Department to pick him up and transport him. Because the way it works in Massachusetts is the supervisors all had arrest powers. They were called specials. So they actually had like police badges, like police credentials, but the rest of us were just regular security officers. We didn't have arrest powers. But we have him down there under arrest for assault, defrauding an innkeeper, avoiding arrest. I forget what all the charges were, but it turns out that this dude was already parole violation. Yeah, that's what it was. He was already they already had a warrant out for him for parole violations. So he knew the minute we tried to apprehend him, he knew that he wasn't just going to go to jail. He was going back to prison now because he'd violated his parole, and now he's got additional charges on top of that. So he knows he's not going to see the light of day for probably a couple few years. So he put up a considerable fight. That was probably one of the most unpleasant situations I ever encountered at that hotel. But while I was there, I knew now my resume is getting fatter. Now I'm at the Copley place in town, which had a lot of respect because aside from my former boss at the St. Francis being the main author of the Westin's hotel security manual, which was like this thick, right? I mean, it was a considerable document. And Mark was also involved in the writing of it. He never gave Bill the credit that he deserved, and it didn't really matter to me. But I knew I had chops because I came from the St. Francis, and it was a bigger, better hotel in every way. Plus, it had history and the beautiful story behind it, right? The Westin Copley Place was, it was a nice hotel. Boston's a great city. It was a great shopping center. But like I said, it didn't hold any special place in my heart for me. So I'm out looking for other jobs in town where I can seriously go and look for an assistant director of security or a security director position. So the reason I'm bringing this up is you'll see as we go on here where my next hotel was and the next two hotels after that. But I hear that the director of security for the Sheraton Boston Towers, and this is a bigger hotel, I think it had 800 rooms, something like that. Not as big as the St. Francis, but nice, and I loved it. It was a beautiful hotel. Anyway, get this, the director of security there, what an idiot. He thought it would be a good idea because he knew there was a lot of cocaine getting dealt inside of the hotel by this dude and numerous dudes and dudettes. But he decided it would be a good idea to put hidden cameras inside the men's locker room where allegedly most of the drug dealing was taking place from this particular perp. Well, you're not allowed to put cameras in bathrooms or locker rooms or any place where people are taking their clothes off, right? That's nothing new, right? So how this dude ever got the security director job, but like I was saying before, if you know the right people, you can land a job like that, or if you're a hard worker like me, you can work your way up to that position. But so finally I went in, I interviewed for the job, got my second interview. I go back, I'm sitting there, and at the time that job paid 60 grand a year. Well, this is 1994 or 95. I think it was 95. Yeah, it seems about right. 94 or 95. Well, $60,000 was a lot of money then, especially to me. I'd never made anything close to that. So I'm sitting there in the office waiting for my interview. I go in for my interview just thinking, God, $5,000 a month. What would I do with that? It's like, seemed like a lot of money. Now it doesn't even seem like a lot of money to me, but I'm in there, and I get a great interview, and I go home and I'm waiting for the letter in the mail or the phone call, and I get a letter with the nice Sheraton gold foil envelope, fancy envelope, fancy stationery, and I open it up, and it's, Dear Mr. Van Gogh, we regret to inform you that we have selected another candidate for the executive chef position. I'm like, what the fuck? For the executive chef position. So, being a smart ass, I couldn't help it. I called the HR director. I go, I just have one question. This is Rich Van Gogh. I was in there, applied for the security director position, and I got a letter saying that I did not get the executive chef position. So I was just wondering, if the executive chef got the security director job, and we had a good laugh over the phone, and she's like, nah, we mixed up your letters. Sorry, he didn't get the job either. But we had a good laugh, and I made a friend at the Sheraton Boston Towers, and I went back to work, and I won't tell you what happened later, because I did end up leaving the Westin Copley place for another hotel. It was a big step up, huge step up. You just have to wait till next week. And sorry, coming to you on Sunday and coming to you with a photograph instead of an original Van Gogh painting, but I don't really have to give you a good excuse. I just have to give you some kind of excuse, right? I don't because I don't really have one. But what I will say is, let me look at this. Oh, 17 minutes. Oh, good. I still got a lot of time. If I didn't tell you, I haven't told you, but Travels with Carl is about me. It's about Carl, which is my motorhome. I'm not in Carl today because I just wanted to sit out here in my beautiful yard. And in fact, look, let me show you around. You've seen this before. We've been out here before. I think this is the third time I shot something from my yard. But I really like sitting in the sun, and wintertime here is wet and cold. Okay, it's not freezing like right now. I'm out here with just a shirt, no hat or gloves or anything. It's not windy. I think it's probably like 50, or maybe possibly be 60. So it's cool, but it feels good, and I'm about to build a fire after this. But Travels with Carl is about me and Carl, my 31-foot Alumilite motorhome, and travel. But it's also about art and about being an artist, okay? Because I am 68 years old right now. And I've been an artist all my life. Like, I knew when I was in first grade that I wanted to be an artist, like 5 or 6 years old. I knew what it meant to be an artist. I knew that there were really big artists. There were some medium-sized artists. And there were some people that were just real crafty, that kind of like a watercolor club kind of artist, right? Paint by number shit. I knew what was at stake at being a really famous artist, and Warhol had, just started to, prove to us that you didn't have to die to make money, right? He was one of the first artists in my lifetime that was making money while he was, still young. Anyway, so it's about that. And so I have had over 52 jobs in my life, and And I've lived in 12 different states, visited 47 of them, and I've only been to a few other countries, and I've only been to Germany and Portugal as far as European countries. So my goal is to retire, in a few years. And I bought a house here in Linwood, Washington, and split my time. I bought a cherry farm in Portugal that doesn't have any cherry trees yet, but we're in the middle of putting in about 170 trees. And I'm going to clear off some land and put in about another 500 trees there. That'll give me about 700 trees. I really want to have at least 1,000 trees, because each tree will bring in about 50 bucks, 50 euros, roughly. In about 10 kilos per tree, maybe 13, 14, maybe 15 if you have bees. You bring in colonies of bees, you get really good lucky weather, just the right amount of rain. You might get 15 keys off of a tree, but you're going to get at least 10. So $5 a kilo wholesale. It's about 55 euros a kilo. And we're looking at about 50 euros per tree. It's kind of like a ballpark number. So I want to have at least 1,000. My real goal is 2,000 trees, but I'll have to get some more land to do that, which the farm adjacent to mine is available. I'm just trying to find out how much land it is and how much it's going for. I got somebody over there working on it, and I just can't wait. I want to travel all of Europe like I did the United States, just exhaust it and visit every art museum, from the Louvre in Paris to the Reich Museum, to the Van Gogh Museum, to the Musée d'Orsay, to the Louvre. Did I already say that? To the Louvre. And I'm not stealing anything either. I'm just visiting. But that's the plan, Stan. So, yeah, Travels with Carl, that's what Carl's all about, and Travels with Carl's all about. So it's 52 episodes. Each episode is going to be about a job, and then at the end of the year, the culmination, we have a book with 52 plates or 52 prints and 52 short stories. And what I do here every week is just rambling. It's just right off the top of my head. There's no script or anything. So the stories will be mostly like what you hear right here, only it's going to be fine-tuned. It'll be a better short story, hopefully, and it'll have some more anecdotes on it. Like I said, I only told one story about one dude that we arrested because it was kind of like a Herculean feat to get this dude in handcuffs, and it was only one of him and four of us. That motherfucker was strong, I'll tell you what. But he had a aversion to going back to prison, which is, that's a motivator, man. That's a strong motivator. And that just goes to show you, when you go to arrest somebody, you got to put somebody in handcuffs. You know why you're putting them in handcuffs, but you don't know exactly who you're putting in handcuffs or what the story is 90% of the time, right? And this guy had a hidden agenda. He did not want to go back to prison. So there you have it. So every week, this will be a painting, and then I'll do a print of that, which will be signed and numbered. There'll be 25 of those, and those I'll send out directly to buyers. And then if you go to my website, which I also plug every week, it's www.vangogh.inc, like Van Gogh Incorporated, only instead of INC, it's INK, like ink, printmaker. Clever, right? Thank you. So you'll be able to get prints on there that aren't signed and numbered, and you can go there right now and buy all kinds of cool stuff. In fact, you can get t-shirts with my art on it, or big prints, small prints. You can get any piece of art that you see on there, and these are all prints, nothing original on the website. And you can get them printed on aluminum plates, on paper, on canvas, any size you want, framed or unframed. And I don't even handle that. You go online, you order it, boom, it leaves there and goes right to your home. However you order it, right, framed or unframed or whatever, and you just pay them, they pay me, they keep some money, and art storefronts keep some money, and everybody's happy. So it's www.vangogh.inc. And while you're online, go to Amazon, go to the book section, and put in Amendment 21-A and order a book from me. Okay, that book is kind of like my life mantra, is ending prohibition, ending the war on drugs. Okay, it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on us, and it's been going on for almost 100 years. So that's, besides, that's my big social contribution to the planet. Before I leave, I'm going to make all drugs legal, and no more, no longer will it be considered a criminal issue. It'll be a mental health issue and a medical issue, and there's no reason to put people in prison because they want to get high. Okay, we could put them through college for less money than it costs to incarcerate them. Plus, it's just the wrong thing to do. People have been getting high for thousands of years, man, and although I understand people's aversion to legalizing heroin, I get that. You look what the Sackler family did and all that, Subsys and, all of those companies that started selling fentanyl and pharmaceutical, fake heroin. Well, if we just had regular heroin and opium and regular cocaine and coca leaves, because some people would be happy just smoking a little opium or chewing some coca leaves, right, or making some tea. There's a lot of benefits to these products. People don't really need to be injecting heroin. One of the reasons they inject heroin to begin with is because they want to get every last little bit of the goodness out of that heroin. And if it was like, say, $5 a gram, they would just do a couple lines of heroin and get the same effect. But see, people, they want to get all the bang for their buck, because right now, heroin's, and cocaine are $100 a gram. Okay, that's why these pill mills, all these people, they were making fat money. Okay, if we just have it subsidized through our healthcare plan, which the legalizing drugs would pay for our entire healthcare system, feed every hungry person and house every homeless person. And I stand by those facts and those numbers. So now you know a little bit more about me, and you know a little bit more about Travels with Carl. Okay, right now we're at 27 minutes and some change, so I'm going to put the intro on here and the tailpiece on here, where you get to hear Jeb's famous song about me and Carl. And I'll see you next week, man. I love you. Let's ride, baby. Let's ride.